All right, and welcome back to On Location. And today I want to take you around the neighborhood. Like many of you, I've been stuck inside a little bit with this quarantine thing. So not as many options you have out there, but keep in mind you can still take your camera, go around the neighborhood, maybe a nearby park if it's not too busy. So that's what I want to show you today. And luckily, unlike last week, we actually do have some spring starting to show. So this is over a couple of days. And I've got them here on my phone, so I'm not checking my messages or anything like that. But let's just go right into it here. I'm going to show you these first few ones here. Now, I'm not a botany expert on flowers or anything like that, but I'll try and talk about the colors and the texture a little bit and why I think these are successful. This first one here is of a purple flowering tree, and I've been seeing them all around, really starting to bloom. And this particular one, I just love because of the pattern it creates. It really draws your eye up and around if you look at that particular image there. And then the color is kind of what creates the pattern, and then it kind of all blends in. So I thought that was really successful, a really interesting image. Now, this next one here has actually done pretty well on Instagram and Facebook, a lot of likes on this one. It's actually a more simple image, and it works better in a smaller size. That's one thing too. This works so well in a small size because it's so bold. The other previous one probably worked better in a larger size, a larger print. But anyway, they're not necessarily worse or better than one another here. But this one is really all about the color, about the texture. I got very close to it. And it's just, it's that burst, beautiful purple glow, and then of course you have the yellow there as well that's kind of accentuating things that I like quite a bit. I think it worked well in this particular picture. Now, these couple next ones were actually shot a different day. It was the same area, but it kind of shows a different aspect of it. It's definitely more about texture. And I love this first one here where you have these layers upon layers of those flowers. It really kind of draws your eye in and really makes you look at each layer and kind of wonder what's going on there. And it's just a very pleasant way. I love the way the light is also shining in through here. Creates a little bit of interest. It's probably not as bright as those pictures from the other day, the other ones that we saw there at the beginning. So I really like those, that nice kind of cool purple light. Now this next one here, still a decent one. Not sure I like it as much as the first, but I'll show it to you here anyway. Just kind of getting those kind of layers, from the top to the center there to the bottom. Creates this nice, beautiful, beautiful light, this beautiful texture as well. Of course, you have the green tree there to give it some perspective as well. So I like those a lot. Now, moving on, these are really just about softness, and which is kind of, when you think of spring, you're thinking of those beautiful flowers, and there's a soft light of glow to them. This is kind of what these flowers really represent, that kind of a look there. Now we have this first one here, and I really like just because of the texture. It has a lot of texture, almost like you can reach out and touch it. So that really, it's not so much, necessarily, it's kind of just texture all over, but I still think it's an interesting thing. It's not necessarily much that's drawing your eye around. Now this next one here, again, is more of that softness. It's just, I've actually went in there and kind of accentuated it a little bit more on this particular one. I also increased the color saturation, brought kind of those magentas there that's in the middle, and fool around with the colors just a little bit, but not too bad, and then kind of soften it up and gave it that nice glow. So I think that one I really liked a lot, and again gives you that quintessential kind of spring glow beauty to things that we all think of there when we think of spring. Now this next one here that I will show you is actually it's the same area, but it's actually a backlit option right there. And it is still soft, but that backlighting there really gives it something that I think is really special, that nice glow. It gives it actually a little bit more of makes it a little bit more complicated, I think, and really adds some extra interest there in an otherwise just a beautiful image. It adds some complexity that I like there. Now, I went further down the road because I'm just walking around here, and there's still a lot out there. So again, get out. There's a lot more than you think right now. And this particular one I really liked. These are the same purple flowers as the ones we saw there in the beginning, but they almost look like a different color, they look more blue. And that primarily is actually because it's the color temperature. It's a little bit more of a bluer light. The sun's a little bit further away, a little bit more of a shadow. So it appears a little bit more blue. Now the camera does accentuate that to some extent, but even to your eye, if you were there, you can definitely tell there's a little bit of a difference. So I like that. And there's almost like this shaft of light coming through there, almost like lined up with a little stream there in the background, kind of shooting through. I did accentuate that just a little bit, but it's just it's a nice, pleasant. It's almost like imagine if you had your house right there and you're looking out your backyard window, and that's what you might have saw in there. So that's something that I thought was a nice, beautiful little image there to show you. Now, I did move a little bit further on, and one thing I love to do is to frame things, and these worked out really well with these kind of pink purplish trees. I think these were a little bit different plants. And again, I'm not a botanist, so I apologize there. Maybe you can comment down there below as to what some of this is, but these particular trees were starting to flower, and we had some yellow flowers, then we had kind of the pink there off in the distance. And I think these yellow flowers are really just accentuating that form there that's off in the distance, and kind of creates this kind of, I don't know, almost like Tinkerbell kind of look, or something like, or a dragonfly look flying around. But those are real flowers. That's not some sort of optical effect there. I did like this first one a lot because of that wall there in the background. It actually kind of created a nice perspective there and made it, I guess it allows you to kind of set it in a particular place, which I thought was really, really cool. The second one here is, again, it's a similar idea, but a little bit more abstract. You can't really tell where you are, and there's purple there. It's a little bit different. The flowers there in the background, but also a very nice shot there. Now, moving a little bit further into the woods, that's kind of where I was heading here. We found this shot. It took me a couple days to actually notice this, but I guess there was a property nearby the house. I think it was under construction, but they had actually some old plants, and somehow this particular plant got shot all the way over here. I'm not sure how it happened, but it's kind of an odd thing to see in the middle of the forest. So I saw that. I thought, oh wow, look at that, and I got that nice, we got that nice frame there with the leaves and the forest in there, and created this beautiful little glow. I did not notice until afterwards, if you look in the right-hand corner, there's actually a little bit of a rod there. I think actually might have been from a power pole. I didn't actually notice that until after I got it back, but I decided, you know what, I think it actually blends it and almost looks like a part of a tree or something like that. So anyway, I debated whether I should show it to you, but I decided to leave it in, so hopefully that works there for you. Now this next one, again, more of there's all these beautiful colors around. And there's this particular kind of magenta tree right here that I saw just on the edge of someone's particular property. And then there were those tree trunks there in the background. I thought, that's kind of a nice contrast, kind of the forest there, those tree trunks showing some kind of a majesty to the image. And of course you as well have that beautiful magenta color right there. So I thought that was a pretty nice shot. Add a little bit of an interest there. Now I keep walking further, and this particular area does have a little stream that runs through. You may have seen it earlier in that earlier shot of the different colored flowers. But I'll start with this first one here, and these are super, super tiny. If you look there on the top of that little waterfall, it's kind of a little twig, and it's probably about the size of my finger right here. So not big at all. And I just thought it was kind of a nice, cool little image. And of course, you're framed there by those particular green leaves and little tree bits and all that stuff. So that one was pretty nice. I also really like this second one right here, where it's, again, this is also very small, but almost looks like a kind of a little bit of a majesty to it there, a little bit larger than it probably actually is. You have a little bit of reflection there on the water from the clouds. It was soft light coming in. And then, of course, you have that frame there created by the leaves surrounding. So, that was it's pleasant out there. The season is changing in spite of the quarantine we may find ourselves in. So get out there and take a look because there's a lot to see there. So definitely appreciate you watching On Location today. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you like the video, subscribe, follow, depending on what platform you are on. And hopefully we'll see you again here next week. Definitely appreciate you watching. You have a good one. Bye-bye.